Hello, everyone. I am Lindsay,
I'm
and
Maria.
this is Maria, and, and we are Roomies Review the Movies. And this week we are reviewing South Central. In South Central, Maria has never seen before. So let's see. It came out in 1992. It stars Glenn Plummer and a couple of other people. Let me pull that up. So
A couple
let's
other
see.
people.
Yeah, one or two other people. Uh, let's see. Where'd it go? Since they've changed, Google is kind of weird.
Have they changed it?
Yeah, it's kind of weird to look things up now. Let's see. Here we go. Cast. All right, so it has Glenn Plummer, Byron Mins, Lexi Bingham, Alvin Hatcher, Christian Coleman, um, a few names we probably have heard of, um, but not really.
Hmm.
One thing that I did notice when I was looking things up was that I was surprised on was that Oliver Stone was behind this movie, and
Yeah, the
the
producer.
director, yeah, he was one of the producers. And they said that it wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for him being a producer on the movie. And then also, the 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 movie uh, was a book first, based off
Yeah.
of a
Mhm.
book. So yeah, so that was pretty cool as well. The director of the film is Steven Anderson, which they said that he hasn't really done too much since doing this movie.
Yeah.
But I was
He
actually
also,
shocked at
wrote the film as
how
well.
many white people, to be honest.
I'm not.
Excuse me. Yeah,
No. It felt very
yeah.
much written by a white person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think the
And that,
screenplay was, but the book was a black
right.
person.
Right. The screenplay was written by the director
Yeah.
who's white, but it's based off a book written by a black man that really is going over kind of like the history of the Crips in the Los Angeles area. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
came
So.
off very much. I didn't even look it up, but I was just like, this feels like it was done by white people, and it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah. It was heavy with the mayo. But yeah. So the movie starts out with um, our main character, which is OG Bobby Johnson. It starts out with him getting out of uh, jail. Now, what I never knew until looking up a few things was that he was a teenager. I did not
What?
know that.
While filming the
Yeah.
movie?
No, not Glenn Plummer, OG Bobby Johnson. When he got out of
Okay.
jail, yeah, when he got out of jail, he was supposed to be a teenager.
Right. Yeah, because they do this whole like flashback scene and where they're all supposed to be like teens at some point. And I was like, they're all clearly so much older than they're supposed to be.
Um, yeah, so yeah, I never caught that before, but yeah, so they're supposed to be kids. Bobby Johnson is getting out of jail, and so
Mhm.
he gets in the car with his fellow Deuce gang members, because they picked him up from jail, and they had a beer in the car, and so he shook the beer and sprayed it in the cop that was outside face when they drove off.
How did the cop even go to the car?
I have no idea. Why was
What
like
did he
why
think
did
was
any
going
of
to
that?
happen?
Yeah, why did any of that happen? But it was funny. I laughed. But yeah. so so yeah, they get to talking, and um everybody knew that he had a kid, but they didn't know that he didn't know the details of said kid.
Right.
Apparently,
He didn't
he
know
didn't
the
even
kid's
know the
name. Sorry.
yeah. So yeah. So people are like, I mean, they thinking it's kind of weird that he doesn't know the kid's name. Um, and so the main gang member that's driving the car, his name is Ray Ray, and
Mhm.
he's telling him like, people are moving in on our sets. We have a meeting because we're trying to get everything organized or whatever. And the only thing we was waiting on was you to get out of jail. Um, so they ended up dropping him off over to his baby mama house, and his baby mama was up at somebody else's apartment,
Yeah. Carol.
all in a face like that. Yeah, her name is Carol, and she's over there, in somebody else's face. So then they yell up for her. She comes down. She's super excited to see him, and um, even though she's super excited, they're kind of pissed off because they're like, "WTF? Whose apartment are you over?"
Right.
Um, so end up being this part always tickled me because obviously for obvious reasons. End up being a Kansas City pimp, and his name
Big
was
time Kansas City pimp.
right, and his name was Genie. His full name is Genie Lamp, which was
And they
so
never
stupid.
explain why that's his name.
Right. I guess his drug grants wishes. I don't know.
It
But
was like I was like, do you have to rub him to get wishes? So what is Genie Lamp? Why would that be your name? Also, you're such a big deal in Kansas City, but you're out here in South Central LA. Like, what are we doing?
I don't understand. But yeah. Um that I mean again, like that part always tickled me. But yeah, so yeah, so he comes down and he's like the type of person that's like snazzy dressed. He has manicured nails. Like they don't explain why
He's
he
like
has these
he's
nails.
the one with the swag and the drip or whatever. So I guess he's supposed to be the one with the money or whatever. But I'm like, sir, you're coming from Kansas City to South Central LA. What are we doing? I guess
Yeah,
he's trying to
and you're in the
expand his business, but it's really odd.
yeah, right, and you're in the project.
In
So
the project,
it'd be
living
one
there,
thing.
like
Yeah, it'd be one
how
thing if
big
you had
time
to
can you
travel out
be?
in the project, but right, but you actually live there. You know what I mean? So yeah, so they already are not here for the Kansas City Pimp, of course, but yeah, and so that was part of the reason why they wanted to have this meeting because they want to get these people out of their neighborhood, and so they end up
Right, and
having
it's
this
very
meeting.
much like giving me like buy local, like
Yes,
not out of
we're
state
gonna give you
crack,
in our
buy from your
community,
local crack dealer because
right?
this is our
Right.
community. I
It
was
was
like,
like this
sir,
whole yeah, it was like this whole empowerment talk, but we're talking about gangs and drugs. But it was like we're gonna keep them in our community. What? like,
right, like a black owned business kind of thing. I was like, what are you talking about?
right, right. And we're gonna help out our community with the gangs and drugs. So, yeah. Excuse me. So yeah, they have this meeting or whatever. They're happy that OG Bobby Johnson is back, and yeah, so they're all empowered. They're all gonna go to their respective sets and do what needs to be done.
Tell this new
So
smack.
yeah, um, and this was the early '80s, so this
Was
is
it? Is
when
it supposed to be the 80s? Okay.
yeah, this was the early '80s. Because the baby was born in '82, so the baby, I don't even think the baby's a year old yet.
Hmm.
So so yeah, so either 82 or 83. So this is around the time when crack started becoming real big. So for him, okay, well, we got this, you know, um, that was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So with that being a big deal or whatever, they ended up getting super rich off of it, but before, like, they're on the brink of getting rich and whatnot, so they got to get rid of the other people that got the other shit on the block, or
Yeah, the
in the neighborhood.
competition can. Mhm.
Right. So they end up going to Jeannie's little bar
It
club
looks like it was
casino.
a warehouse. You know,
Yeah.
you know, and
Right.
they
And he
bring the
got like
baby with them.
they brought the baby with them, but I mean, again, the early '80s, things things were happening. Like, babies weren't really in car seats back then, and uh they was bringing a baby around. And this is like an underground establishment, so it ain't like they would get in trouble for having a baby there. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because they stopped and asked them for ID. I was like, "You asking for ID in this clearly illegal establishment?"
Exactly. And that's why Brad was just like, well, do y'all got a permit for those casino tables back there? So yeah. Um
And it's
so
funny to me that he's more concerned about like, where's your ID than like, why is a baby here? Why is a baby
right,
at the bar?
right. So yeah, it just, I mean, it always looked weird to us, but it's the '80s. So
Nah, I don't buy
I
that. I
don't
don't
think
buy
my
that. I think
mama
babies at the
had me
bar have always been weird.
right. I don't think my mama had me in the club, but
No.
stranger things have happened. So but yeah, so they Jeannie reluctantly lets them in, gets them a table, tells them drinks on him, but they like gonna pay for our drinks, whatever. So they end up having a good time in the establishment or whatnot, and then they end up leaving. And when they left or whatnot, Carol, which is Bobby Johnson's baby mama, she was just like, I still want to hang out, so you gonna keep the baby. And so she went and hung out with her girlfriends.
Well, they were
So
good. They were like,
he
we
got
gotta take business, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, whatever. She was like, okay, well then you keep the baby, because she's had the baby this
right,
entire time by herself. You
right,
know.
right. So yeah, and that's another thing, because they ended up going back and forth about the baby when he first came home, and he tried to come at her about not even knowing the kid's name and not being there for him while he was down and all that kind of stuff. And she was just like, dude, when you left me alone. I had the baby by myself. I had to get on county. I had to do all of this. You know what I'm saying? To take care of your kid. So that was kind of
And then
messed
she
up.
had to just basically force him to hold the baby because he was just kind of
Right,
standing there.
right. And he didn't know what the hell he was doing. So yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of messed up or whatever. So they they so fast forward to them leaving the bar or whatever. They end up taking Bobby Johnson home. And so when they finally took him home, Jeannie was home. And so Jeannie and his bodyguard, I guess, they forced him
Yeah,
to come.
yeah.
Yeah, they forced him to go to Jeannie's apartment. So with them forcing him to go to Jeannie's apartment, Jeannie forced him to snort a line of coke. And
With he has the baby with him this entire time.
yes, still has the baby. So he had to put the baby down and snort the coke, otherwise he was gonna get shot. So Um, while he's high, this is when Jeannie decides to tell him, pretty much don't fuck with me,
Right.
in so many words. So
Yeah. And tell your boys that I'm like, you really expect him to remember this message, my guy? He is
all of
extremely
it
high.
extremely high. Right, because they made him snort the whole line. Like, and the line was pretty thick.
They made him snort like 2 lines.
No, it was one long line.
It was a one long
And
line. Okay.
yeah, and he snorted half of it, and then he was like, "Clean your
Oh,
plate."
that's what it was. Right. Okay.
So, um, yeah, so yeah, it was, yeah, he was supposed to remember all that, and like while he's like ridiculously high, because he was like incapacitated high. So,
With the baby.
yeah, with the baby. So he ended up being up there all night. Jeannie left him there. He didn't get back to his apartment until the morning. So he comes back. Carol's laying on the couch or whatever, and he's just pissed off, and he's just like, we gotta get him. He ended up telling his gang members or whatever that they gotta get him. So they ended up coming up with a plan to get him, and they executed the plan. And Bobby was the one that pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
So
And I was watching the scene, and when he shot him, like I noticed there was like something on the gun. It was just looked very weird. But I couldn't really understand what it was.
it was a
And
potato.
it was a potato. It's like, what? Because later on, when he's being interviewed by the cops, they pull out this potato, but they don't tell you anything about the potato or why the potato is relevant. So I'm just like, oh, he had a potato on the end of the gun. But I was just like,
Yeah,
at first, I was just like, why are we talking about this potato? Like, what is happening?
yeah,
Um,
because a potato was supposed to be a silencer.
I
I don't think
guess.
it worked.
I
Yeah,
really feel like that's not. I feel like that would not
it's
work in
not
real
a
life.
thing.
I feel very confident about that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, yeah, but I guess it's cheaper than to go buy a silencer. But I don't know.
But
Maybe
you had a
silencers are hard to
plan.
come
Y'all
by.
don't have. I have no idea. Yeah, what do I know about that? But yeah, when he shoots him,
Yeah,
all his other fellow gang members seem shocked, as if they all didn't know what they were going to do.
yeah. Well, the thing is about that was that because their kids not very first killing that they've been
Mhm.
around, because it's the beginning of the gang and all that kind of stuff, and with all of that, like still shocking, you know, it still was a shocking thing to see because you can be as hard as
Well,
you want to
no, I
be,
mean they
but
had started the gang in like the 72, 1972. So it wasn't new by
no,
this
that's
time.
when gangs started.
That's
That's
what,
when
yeah, they
gangs
had started in
started, but
72.
I don't think that's
Yeah.
when that.
No, he said it was started by the two of them in 1972.
But it wasn't like a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like they're finally getting organized now. You know what I mean?
I guess because he was like,
And like none of them, yeah, they,
we have hundreds of members or whatever.
yeah, like you have like, but it's finally getting organized. Like it's a different thing to call yourself a gang, and you're not really putting in no work. Now you're actually organized, putting in work, you're getting funding, all this type of stuff. Like they're starting to get
Getting funding.
organized now. That was the whole
Yeah.
reason for them, right? That was the whole reason for the meeting. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's a totally different thing now. So that's the
No,
reason.
yeah,
And then on top of that,
they just seemed surprised, like they were caught off guard.
because nobody done any, like, nobody had put in no work by at that point.
Okay.
So yeah, and so Bobby Johnson, he got on it. He went on ahead and killed Jeannie, and with him killing Jeannie, he ended up getting his Purple Heart, which in real life that would be a teardrop.
Well, not a
but
Purple Heart, but
in the movie, not a Purple Heart, Black
yeah,
Heart.
just a heart. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So in real life that would have been a
Yeah.
teardrop, but uh, but yeah. So he gets his teardrop. He goes or not teardrop.
Like he is
Black
there, like
Heart. He goes.
outside on the ground. They lay him down on the ground to give him this tattoo, and I'm just like, this is very unsanitary. Okay, I hope this doesn't get
Extremely
infected.
right, extremely unsanitary. It's so funny watching it as an adult. I'm thinking about stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But back then, the only thing I really thought about was like the house being nasty. That was the extent of me thinking about stuff like that. But yeah. So he goes home, and Carol sees the black heart, and she's like, no, you didn't. So he's still kind of shook that he didn't, but he's just like, pack your things, we gotta go. So they go to this dilapidated house, and they're pretty much hiding out in plain sight
Yeah.
because the house, it
It
was like the
seems like
house was
they've been
like,
there for like months or something. Yeah.
right, but it wasn't like the house was in the woods somewhere. The house was, if they was in LA, the house was probably in Compton, like, or Watts or something like that. Like, not far. So while they're hiding out or whatever, Ray Ray is, supplying the neighborhood with his drug, and everybody is, well, not everybody, but
Business is
Ray
booming.
Ray is getting, yeah, he's getting extremely wealthy. Bobby is still hiding out, and everybody is like, out and about making their money and whatnot. And so two of the gang members or whatnot, they come and they get, they come and get Bobby, even though he's supposed to be hiding out. He reluctantly goes, him and the baby, goes on a ride because two of the gang members had um, traded a bag of rocks for this convertible, for this red
Yeah.
convertible.
And
So
that they're somehow co-owners of, right?
yeah,
I was like, so y'all got paperwork? Like what?
right. Like this was
We just agreed to be owners.
right. But one of the guys, he's a Sherm head, so
Yeah, that's
he
logo.
is not gonna be driving. Yeah, he won't be driving anytime soon. So
I found him very annoying.
he always was annoying. I thought I thought his character was extremely unrealistic.
Yes.
I always thought that because I was in, and when the first time I saw it, I was living in the hood at the time. So I'm like, I don't know anybody that looks like or acts like him. You know what I mean?
Right, all the time like that. Like, okay.
Yeah. Right. So, and I understand getting a hold of some bad drugs that'll turn you, but
that's not what this was. He was supposed to be the comic relief, and he just wasn't funny. He was very annoying.
it wasn't funny. Right. It wasn't funny. But yeah, so he so they are driving around, doing a little joyride in the new ride, and
with the baby, by the way.
With the baby, right, in a drop top. No car seat.
No car seat, no seatbelt. No.
I didn't even think the car had a back seat till he got in. Like, it was
a very small sports car.
Right. So they're driving around and they come up on some hookers. They're like, hey, look at that bitch.
All of the women are bitches. Like, and it's just like, what? Because there's one point in the beginning where they're talking about, like, selling their smack to the community or whatever, because we got to protect our kids and our bitches. I was like,
yeah, we got to send the bitches home. And like, nobody was a lady. No, they're all bitches.
A woman or referred to by name, whatever. Like,
yo bitch, my bitch, our bitches.
Right. Straight bitches. To somebody's face, hey bitch. I was like,
yeah, that was a bit much. Now, yes, Men do call women bitches, but not that much. Godly, like so. And you can't call another man like you can't call another man's lady a bitch. Like no
Yeah.
man can call another man's lady a bitch. I
And
don't
if
care.
you're gonna be like, we need to protect our bitches, like, yeah, I feel real protected. Like what?
Extremely protected, right? So yeah, so they pull up on these prostitutes, and one of them does not look like, you can tell from a long shot she does not look like a prostitute.
Very clearly a cop. Like it.
Yeah,
She's dressed extremely well in the middle of the day in South
yes,
LA, and
yes,
she's supposed to be a sex worker. Does
yeah.
it seem right to you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Like,
Not in the least. So yeah, so they have picked up this quote unquote prostitute. She gets in the car. The Sherm head is telling all the business to
oh
her.
god.
Showed her the rock, and yeah, she pulls out her gun, pulls out her badge, tells him to pull over,
Yeah,
and
she
that's how.
pulls the gun on a loco.
Yeah, yeah, the Sherm head, and
Oh yeah, I
that's
was also like, girl, you're by yourself. Like, where's your backup? I don't care if
yeah,
you do have a gun. There are three other men in the car. Like,
right.
where's your
Yeah,
backup? This is
that
bad
wasn't.
police work.
Yeah, that was less than smart. That was definitely less than smart.
And then
Um,
also, what's funny to me is like when they killed Jeannie Lamp, they wrote the name of their gang on the wall. So
yeah,
it's like, I don't know how much investigating you really need to be doing. Does this require an undercover cop? I feel like no. Like,
no, you just gotta ask a couple of people, and like they'll let you know who Deuce is.
right.
You know,
If you don't know already.
exactly, exactly. And then they'll make it on better that like. So when he got out at the beginning, the very first scene, as soon as he walked out the jail, he's throwing up the Deuce. You, you're clearly them, like. So yeah, but yeah, so they all go downtown, and Bobby Johnson is in the interrogation room with one of the cops. He's trying to get some info out of him. He's like, I don't know, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're
Yeah,
talking
he refuses to spill anything, give up anything.
about. Right.
And they're
So
like, you can go to, and then
then,
that's when they bring out the potato. They're like, do you
yes,
recognize this potato? And I'm like, what is happening?
right,
Ah,
right. And they're like, we got your fingerprints all over it. So
we got your fingerprints on this potato. You're going to jail.
right, you're going to jail. So Bobby is like, okay, is my kid still here? Can I see my kid? And so they end up bringing the kid into him, and he's just pretty much with his kid or whatnot. Next thing you know, he's in jail because he went on ahead and confessed or whatever. And so
No, he didn't tell anything because he was in prison. Because they were like, if you don't tell us, or if you don't tell us, blah blah, you can go away for like 10 years.
I think they were saying like other people, because they pretty much was gonna get him for that murder. They have
Right.
his
They
fingerprints
wanted
all over.
him. They wanted information on the other gang members, and he wouldn't give
Right,
any. And they
right.
were
But
trying
he
to,
confessed to that murder.
motivate him to do so. And they're saying that if you don't, we can put you away for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, shoot, he got it. So he's in jail now, and there's other Deuce members in jail because Deuce is huge. So he's pretty much keeping his ear to the streets, and keeping up with his kid every now and again or whatnot. But while he's in there, he sees uh the Sherm head that was part of Deuce getting roughed up by the Aryans. And so while he's getting roughed up about it with the Aryans, he goes over there and he's like, no,
Mhm.
he's Deuce, blah blah blah. And they're like, well, he owes us smokes and whatnot. And the other Deuce members are like, are you serious? You really about to save this Shermhead? And he was like, yeah, I'm making
He's a
an OG
deuce.
call. He's a
Right.
dude. And so they was like, okay, well, if you're gonna save him, you owe us 15 smokes, but plus interest. And I
Whatever
no,
that means.
huh?
I said whatever that means.
Right. The
I
interest
was
can
like,
mean
what does Loco owe them that they want 10 boxes of cigarettes or whatever? You
oh,
know.
he probably
The
got
first
some drugs from him. He probably got some
is a
drugs from him. Yeah.
why even? But he don't make the best decisions. That's why he's there.
Right.
Um so yeah. But like, at first they wanted 10, and then later on they want 15 and interest. And I want this and I want all his dessert. I was like, oh god, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They were just adding on shit, right?
You're right.
So yeah, so he went up there and saved him or whatever. And so excuse me, I guess that was his first time seeing him in jail. So he ended
Hmm.
up getting info from him or whatnot. Loco lets him know that Ray Ray done got big time. He done pushed him out of the
It seemed like he pushed a lot of people out. Like he was
yeah,
like he's not paying anybody anymore or whatever. And I'm just
yeah,
like,
like
how can he be so big time and then like push all these people out without anybody pushing back?
he probably is because he started walking around with a bodyguard too, like how Jeannie Lent was walking around with a bodyguard. So
But he
he
has
probably
one bodyguard, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, if he pushed out all these other people, y'all could easily take him over. But anyway, that's just
yeah. I mean, yeah. But yeah, so he pushed every like all the original members out and whatnot. He pretty much got a whole bunch of young impressionable soldiers doing all kinds of bullshit for him.
yeah. Yeah.
Um
He's going after children because they'll
like
be controlled. And then, if
right, exactly.
kids get locked up, they don't get locked up for 10 years.
Exactly. They just go to juvie and that's it. And so Loco tells him like he even got your son out there jacking cars or
Mhm.
jacking radios for car out of cars.
What,
And he
what do
was
they
like,
call them? They
wait,
call them sound something,
sound.
sound
They called
jams.
him sound. Yeah, they called
Yeah.
him sound. Yeah. So Bobby's like, wait, what? And
Hmm.
so he was just like, yeah. He was like, he pushed me out, and so I just been sticking moving. So it sounded like he was doing armed robberies, and that's the reason why he's behind bars. And so,
Hmm.
um,
We see
now,
like a scene of like, his kid, because it's like 10 years later.
mm-hmm,
And
they're still living in a dilapidated house.
hmm
Um, he, is wearing like the fresh outfits and stuff like that, but ain't no food in the
he's
house.
wearing British Knights. And I was like, oh my God.
And British Knights was a huge thing back then.
It was
So yeah,
big. Oh my goodness.
it was a huge thing back then. So then he tries to go get some money out of his mama's purse. She ain't got nothing but change. So then the
Nothing
dude
but change.
with
He still takes it though.
yeah, he still takes the change, but then he goes to the dude that she's in bed with wallet, takes his little couple of dollars, and then he burns out. And so Ray Ray pulled up on him or whatever and talked to him and was just like, I need you to do this for me, get these sounds, and I'll pay you for each sound that you get.
Yeah. And then he gives him some weed too, whatever. I was like, this is a 10-year-old child.
Yeah. A 10-year-old impressionable child
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have his father. All he knows is pretty much his father was an OG in the same gang that
I
he's trying
mean,
to be in.
doesn't really have his mother either because she's an addict at this point.
Right. She's a real life addict at this point,
Mhm.
you know. So he's just a young impressionable child that's just out here. And so Ray Ray is coming to the hood, looking out for him, putting some money in his pocket, giving him an opportunity. So it looks like a good deal.
Right.
And so Um, uh, what's his name? And then the baby's name was Jimmy, but they call him J Rock now.
J Rock, yeah.
Yeah, so J Rock is out here and he's stealing cars, or
It's
not stealing
much better
cars,
than Ginny Lamp.
right? So he's out here stealing sounds, and he's taking them out of the cars and whatnot. Like some of them are the kind that are the aftermarket,
Yeah.
and then some of them are the
Factory.
factory ones. Now, from what I remember, the factory ones you couldn't really do too much with. It was the aftermarket ones that were the ones that you could,
Well, I
steal.
mean, the things that you typically get aftermarket are better than what you're getting at the factory, right? People go after aftermarket for upgrades. People don't
Yeah,
downgrade to aftermarket stuff.
right, right. But I'm thinking of it from a stealing aspect, like the the factory ones were hard to steal,
Oh,
and
um,
they weren't really resellable. But he's
yeah.
stealing them all. He's like, screw it, he's stealing them all. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I missed something.
Oh,
You know,
but
that
again,
right,
apparently potatoes are silencers. So,
right, right. That wasn't my ministry, so I don't know. I could totally be wrong, but yeah, I always thought that was kind of weird to me. But yeah, so he's stealing the sounds and stuff like that, and taking them back to Ray Ray. Ray Ray's paying them, and with him paying them, he's starting to be around Ray Ray more.
mhm,
He's starting to be
involved
uh
in life.
yeah, starting to get involved in the life and whatnot, and yeah, he's starting to become somewhat of a father figure to him.
Yeah, because he's really the only person in his life, actually, or the
Mhm.
only adult.
Right,
Like,
right.
again, his mom is like a pretty serious addict at this point. His dad
Hmm.
has been in
The dad,
prison his
yeah.
entire life, really.
Right,
And the
right,
only person who's showing him any kind of attention, any adult, is Ray Ray.
right, right. Even though it's jacked up, but yeah.
Oh, it's totally
So,
jacked up. Ray Ray is a predator. Like, he's totally a predator, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, one of the people that he steals from is Mr. Manchester. And Mr. Manchester is in the middle of having sexy time with his wife, and so he like J Rock sees that and he's like, bet, because even these cars that he is stealing out of, they have alarm system, but that doesn't deter him. So he'll still,
Because he can
knock
get
off
in
the
and get out before people will
yeah, before
typically.
people can come. So
Hmm.
um he gets into Mr. Manchester's car, the alarm goes off, he gets the radio, and so he's running away, and he then ran up a I think it was a cement wall. And by this time, Mr. Manchester then got his rifle and came outside, sees the boy running up the wall. He's about to jump over. So when he does that, he shoots him in the back. So he falls over on the other side, and he's just like, I got him, I got him. Next thing you know, the ambulance is there. The ambulance is taking J Rock away. All his neighbors and stuff are outside, and they're mad at him because they're like, he was just a child, he was just a child. And he was like, well, he was taken from me, I have a right to protect my family, and blah 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 blah. Now in real life, you cannot shoot a robber in the back. You're
You
still
really, you really should. I mean, the kid is running away,
yeah,
right?
he poses
Clearly,
no threat.
not posing any kind of harm to you.
Yeah,
You can get another, possibly you can get another radio. Like,
yeah,
it's not worth shooting and hurting, possibly killing somebody over your
right,
car radio.
right. Like your family was never in threat, never in.
Never,
So yeah, in real life, you can't shoot nobody in the back, robber or not. You can't shoot him in
unless
the
you're a
back.
cop.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so the cops are like, yeah, we got to take you downtown, and he's going off. He was like, I'm protecting my family and blah, blah, blah. I can protect the country over in war, but I
Vietnam,
can't.
right?
Yeah, I can't protect my own family. Blah blah blah. Of course, they only take him down there for questioning and let him go. But yeah, like they didn't even handcuff him. So um, yeah, so J
I
Rock,
thought I thought the I thought he was dead.
yeah, yeah, like in real life, he probably would have been dead
Yeah,
because he hit him with a double barrel rifle. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So and he's little. Again, we're talking about a 10-year-old, and he
yeah,
blasted him in the back. Like his back, like J Rock was fucked up. Like this
yeah,
is real. He was fucked up.
yeah.
So
They had him in the hospital. Like his head wounds weren't even covered. He was bleeding all on the pillow. I was like, what is
yeah,
happening?
yeah. Which they probably did that for effect, but yeah, he should have had a whole bunch of bandages on his face and stuff like that. But yeah, his back was done. That back was cooked. So yeah, he's in the hospital. This nurse takes a particular liking to him.
Yes, Nurse
You know,
Shirley.
yes, Nurse Shirley, and she's like really caring for him and stuff like that. She realizes ain't nobody coming to see him and whatnot. So then
Mm-hmm.
after he's been there for a while, um, his mom Carol comes, and the nurse is just like she's asking questions, and the nurse is just like, well, can I ask who you are, basically?
Like, who are you? Right.
And she was like, I'm his mother, and she was like, oh. So then she like changed her demeanor and whatnot, but still, it was still like, you his mother, why have you not been here, so she was just like, okay, well, do you want to sit with him? I'll go on ahead and leave y'all two alone, blah blah blah, because she
She's
was
like,
in
he's not
there.
really talking, but you can sit with him.
Right. And so then she was just like, well, ain't no need for me to sit here if he ain't talking. And she was like, huh, you don't want to sit with him? Like, no. And so then she started going on, and she was like, he was stealing sounds. Like he just gonna turn out to be like his daddy and his granddaddy. So she ends up leaving, and so then that's when Nurse Shirley realizes that this boy is really alone.
Mm-hmm.
So she turned him on to ping pong, which he calls honky ball, and
So the first he was like, oh, that's some white people hockey stuff. I don't play
right,
that.
right. And like these other kids were playing it no problem, but he ended up turning onto it and he took a liking to it. Um, he started getting real good, and that was part of his healing.
Yeah.
And so,
And the nurse is like the first nurturing kind of person he's had in his life.
right, right,
So that's probably like the first time he's able to feel safe and stable.
right, right. So, he starts letting his guard down. He trusts her and whatnot, and so then she brings social services to him, and so they're asking Rock questions and whatnot, and he's telling the truth. He's just like, my mama don't really do too much. She used to like, beat me, but she don't really do too much no more because she be high. And
Right. No
I
food in
just
the house.
no food in the house. I just be on my own. And that's just what it is. So with that, he they pretty much, or it's pretty much confirmed what they thought, that she ain't shit
Right.
and
She's
he
been
don't need to be in
neglecting
that house.
him.
Right. And he don't need to be in that house. So after he gets completely healed and discharged from the hospital, he goes to a boys' home.
Yes, they take him to a wonderful detention center.
Yes. So he at the detention center or whatnot, there were other boys there, of course, and they tried to step to him. He threw up the deuce, so everybody left him alone. So
Yeah.
now he's a thug, with respect. So back at the ranch, uh, or jail rather, um, Bobby is he's in jail, and he's real fucked up behind this situation because that's his son, and even though he can't really do too much or nothing, he's realizing that like being Deuce is what's causing this situation to happen with his son. So he's just like, I'm over this. I'm done.
Hmm.
So he denounces uh and gets out the game.
Well, see, the thing is, like, he's by himself, just thinking about things or whatever, and his fellow Deuce members come by and is basically like, don't want to leave him alone, and he was
Mhm.
like, I really just need some time to think right now,
Yeah.
and they refuse, and
Right.
he's like, I'm done. Like, y'all can't let me just think by myself.
Right. Right. It was crazy. So um which is probably the reason why they didn't want to leave him alone, because they probably knew he was leaning towards getting out.
Hmm.
And so they were just like, all right, well, you on your own then.
Also, that particular man has finger waves and a rat tail. This is two
Oh,
hairstyles.
oh, yeah. I just took it as he had really good hair.
Finger waves and a rat tail.
Yeah.
Very specific choices. And then also with J Rock, they've got him having this like kind of half cut, like it's like half, and then it's also like at an angle, right? So it's not
Yeah.
like completely straight. It's like goes at an angle in the back, and then it's like super faded, right? It like super faded,
Yeah,
and
skin fade.
then he has a skin fade, right? And then he has a patch of hair in the back, just a
Yeah,
patch,
like a like
like
a
where you would have a rat tail. It's just a
right,
patch of hair.
right. Um
It's I was like, what is who is doing this to this child?
honestly, being that I did see it as a child, a lot of kids at the time had that haircut.
Oh
So
wow, I never.
it didn't look abnormal to me.
Nah, I hadn't seen that one, especially not with the just the patch in the back.
Yeah.
The rat tail, yes, but the patch, I no.
Yeah. No, because people were beginning their ducktail or whatever. So yeah.
Oh, is that what y'all call it, ducktail?
Yeah. We got a ducktail. So but yeah, like when people were beginning it, you had the
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, because it wasn't long enough to get braided yet. So yeah.
But
But
it
yeah,
just looks very odd.
it does look odd. Yeah, you're right. And it wasn't straight. The one thing that stood out to me as far as like the hair is concerned is that like his hair was always cut. You never saw him at the barbershop. And he supposed to be like broke as a joke. So who was cutting his hair? Was he
All
getting
this
it cut on the set?
design, right? Like, what is happening?
Right. So that always stood out to me. But yeah, so he uh yeah, so Bobby's at the gang, he's by himself or whatever. So now um Deuce made that deal with the Aryans, and so the Deuce told the Aryans that Bobby's on his own, he's gonna have to pay out. And so the Aryans tried to punk him in the lunch line, and Bobby beat the shit out that dude.
He did.
He ended up going to the hole,
They
and
made
then
strip naked. I was like, he's going to solitary. He got to be booty butt naked for solitary.
maybe, maybe, but yeah, I noticed that too. Uh, but I've never been to jail, so I don't know what they do in solitary. So I just took it as okay, well, sure, you know. But but yeah, so he goes to solitary. He gets out. When he gets out, he goes to another cell that's not his, and they're like, "This is not my home." And the dude's just like, "Yeah, we'll get your things. This is your home now." So he ends up being um, in a cell with a guy that's pretty much head of the Muslim community.
Yeah, he's the
Excuse me.
Ali. He's like head of the brothers. Yeah.
Yeah. So, excuse me. Um, Ali, pretty much saw something in him
Hmm.
that he wanted to assist with, rehabilitating him, and that was the whole purpose of him getting the guards to change his room to be his room. And so through a series of scenes, he ends up getting through to Bobby. Um, and they pretty much come up with a plan to get him out of jail. Meanwhile, there was one particular scene where the Aryans take Bobby into like some little room after they was like in a lunch, like they were lined up to go to the cafeteria
Yeah.
for breakfast.
They basically like drug him into a closet.
Yeah. And so in the closet, they
But
started.
apparently this closet can fit like 7 or 8 people.
Right. It's a pretty big closet.
Yeah.
So he, he takes them into the closet or whatever, or the Aryans take him into the closet, tell him that, he owes for Loco, and they start beating him up or whatever. And so sounds like they were going to start, raping him.
Mm.
If it wasn't for the Brotherhood intervening.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ali and 2 other brothers, they come into the closet too, and they was just like, we understand he owes you, but at the end of the day, that's a man. And
That's a man.
right, a man.
That's a man. Like, what?
Like
Okay.
we're emphasizing the fact that he's a man, because basically they're not trying to say don't rape him.
This is what they say. He what was it when they first got him in there? They're like, they said something to him about being somebody's butt wife, and I was like,
yeah,
okay. Hadn't heard that before, but all right, butt wife.
right. It was like certain things you can tell they just didn't want to say.
Yes.
So
it follows the same thread of them being deuces instead of Crips, and the whole heart instead of a teardrop.
Right. It was like I guess the Crips copyrighted this shit. I don't know.
And they probably just didn't want to get in trouble,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. Because gang culture is something totally different that I have no dealings with. So but yeah. So they come up with a plan, or not a plan, but a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So he owes 15 smokes plus interest. The interest is that he has to pretty much be his servant for the next 3 months and give his dessert to them for the next 3 months.
Because he was like, I want 10 back. No, 15. And I want interest. And I want his dessert. And I'm like, what in the world?
He wants all of this. All of this. So the brotherhood pays the 15 boxes, and then he has to be their servant for the next 3 months, and that's just what it is. So
your indentured servant, and he's like, he'll be your indentured servant for the next 3 months. And the white dude is like, what?
Yeah, know what that means. Laughing like, okay, he's gonna be your butler basically. So yeah, so they broker this deal, and they take Bobby out the closet, and for that Ali told him, like, you owe me, and this is how you're going to repay me. You're going to read at least 2 hours a day. So they start the rehabilitation process, and he's talking to him one night. He finds out that he's been up for parole 6 times, and he's been denied 6 times. So he was just like, you really got to show them that you're rehabilitated in order to get out of here. So let's really start the process of you rehabilitating.
Yeah, got to change your attitude.
Right, you got to change your attitude. You got to for real be about changing your life. So, he started doing the work, and he ends up going up for parole. When he went up for parole, he ends up getting it.
Yeah, he gets a whole new shape up with his hair and everything.
Yeah.
He's looking like a nice, like, late 80s suburban dad.
Yeah.
Got the low afro with the mustache.
Right. And so and when during this whole section of the movie, we end up finding out that the main reason that Ali is um, doing all of this is because he had a son as well. The situation with his son was that he was ridiculously hard on his son up until a point where his son ran away. He got involved with some people who ended up killing him. And when he found out who the people were, he went and killed them. So it was like three people that he killed, and he's doing life. So he's like, well, I'm never getting out of here. I don't have that time where I can fix things with my son. So you need to go
Right.
and fix things with your son. So which that was kind of touching,
Mm-hmm.
Um but he was just like, I've never had that type of relationship. Like all he wanted to do was just like be my son, and I was just trying to be his dictator. I wasn't really trying to be his father.
Right.
So so yeah, so that was all the more reason why Bobby had to get out there, and save his son. So he gets out. First place he goes to is the dilapidated house, like how he did the first
Where
time.
Carol is.
Yeah, with Carol. Carol, like the place ain't changed since he left.
Nope, not at all. She even
Right,
says the same thing to him when he comes home this time that she did the first time.
right. Only thing is that she's so shermed out that she's
Yeah.
just barely awake, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, Bobby, you're home.
Like, I
We
wish you
never
had
just
told me you
told
were coming. Right. I could have gotten my hair done.
you." Right, and so then she passes out again. So he ends up putting her in the bed. So then he goes into the kitchen. He puts on some water on the stove, and he sits at the table in the kitchen. Realizes that the table in the kitchen has a whole bunch of mail on it.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts
Ain't been
going
paying bills, nothing.
right, the typical shit that comes through the mail. So then he sees this letter from the state that's pretty much telling Carol, you lost your son.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets the coffee and goes in there and makes Carol wake up, drink the coffee, and was
Yeah.
like, what is this? What is this? So then she's like, he gone. Jimmy gone. They took
Right.
him. Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And so he starts going on a search for where I mean
To find his son.
trying to find his
Yeah.
son. So he goes to the group home. He talks to the administrator at the group home. The administrator's hitting him with all these types of rules and stuff like that. Any other time before he was rehabilitated, he would have been pissed off, yelling, cussing, and all this kind of stuff. But now that he's rehabilitated, Bobby is trying to level with him, and he's just like, I literally just got out of jail today. I just want to see my
Yeah.
son. The administrator's like, oh, well, shoot, that's even worse. We got to do this and we got to do that.
There are more jumps. There are more loopholes for you to jump through.
Right. So he's getting mad, but he was just like, you know what, you're just doing your job. I understand. So then
Yeah.
he starts to walk out. So the administrator's like, wait, hold on. I'm gonna let you see your son, but any other
I
time
was
we
like,
gotta
what?
right, like the shit's working. The shit is working. So he was just like, any other time we gotta do it by the rules, but I'm gonna let you see your son today. So he sees his son.
And
So
he's trying to look so tall, tough.
right. And so with him seeing the son and whatnot, J Rock only knows what he's been told about his dad. So he's
Right.
thinking like his dad is about to come out and they're gonna go ride out on Manchester, and then he shows him his back, and that breaks Bobby's heart. But
It
he was
really
just
does.
like, we can't do what you think that we should do. We got to handle this differently.
Right. We gotta play by the rules. We can't go out here shooting people.
Right. And I'm gonna get you out of here, but we got to follow the rules to get out.
Right.
And so Jimmy's just like, man, blah blah
He
blah.
doesn't want to hear that.
Doesn't want to hear that at all. So then he leaves. He leaves the room, and so when he leaves the room or whatever, Bobby ends up leaving and whatnot. Come to find out, um, Jimmy ends up escaping, and the police come to Carol's house, and they start like looking through the house, not really trying to tell him what is going on. So then they finally tell him, Jimmy broke out of the group home, and
So we
if
thought he was here.
yeah, we thought he was here. So if he does come here, you need to tell us. So then he was just like, okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
right. So now he's on a search for his son. Um, he's running into people, you know. Excuse me. He ran into these older kids. They probably was like late teens,
Yeah.
and they was
Maybe
on a
maybe a year or two older than Bobby.
yeah, they was on a basketball court, and they was like
Oh
talking
no,
to
those guys. Oh yeah, yeah,
those guys was like in their late teens, and they're
yeah.
talking to him crazy or whatnot, and he just let them talk, and he ended up leaving. So then he runs into J Rock's old friends, and so then that's when he started trying to trying to talk to them in their language or whatever, and he's just like,
Right,
I'm OG Bobby Johnson, I'm just trying to find my son, you know. And they was like, oh, you gonna go ride out on Manchester? Yeah, but I need J Rock, so y'all know where he
right.
at. And so they was just like, yeah, he's over with Ray Ray at such and such place. So he was like, all right, thanks for letting me know, blah, blah, blah. So then he goes over to where Ray Ray place is. And with him going over there, he ends up finding J Rock.
Hmm.
And so with him finding him, um, there ends up being, conflict between him and Ray Ray, because he's just like, this is my son, give me my son.
Yeah. And he's like, no,
They're like,
Deuce is daddy now.
right, Deuce is his daddy, and we're gonna take care of the situation or whatever. So come to find out, they didn't already kidnapped Mr. Manchester. He's in the back. He pulls him out, and he's trying to teach J Rock how to shoot. And this is gonna be J Rock's first body. So he's telling him like, yeah, you're gonna get your black heart for this, and blah blah blah. And so,
You'll
um,
be a OG, a made man.
right. And
At 10
so
years old.
at 10 years old, so the bodyguard that Ray Ray has is keeping Bobby away
Bear. Yeah.
from J Rock, and so while he's still trying to talk, and he's about to pull the trigger, and he's just like, no. So then he ends up beating up the bodyguard.
Well, the bodyguard was beating him up first, right?
Right, right. The
And I was
bodyguard,
like, dang, you just gonna let him beat you up like that? Like, I know you've been in fights. So you're just...
right, like he didn't even fight back. And so then when Bobby finally fought him back, that's when he like made him stay on the ground.
Yeah.
And so with him staying on the ground, he's out the way. So then he picks up his gun and he points it at Ray Ray. So now Ray Ray done held J Rock, takes the gun and points it at Bobby, even though J Rock still is holding the gun.
Right.
So that's kind of like super messed up.
Extremely.
So now they're pointing guns at one another, and uh he's like still trying to talk to him. So then he eventually puts his gun down. Bobby does. And so he's trying, like, still trying to, level with
Reason
J
with
Rock
them.
and whatnot. Yeah.
And
And
Ray
ev-
Ray, especially because at this point, like you said, Ray Ray's got hold of J Rock and the gun.
right, right. So he eventually gets through to J Rock, and J Rock just puts his hand down. Um, and so with him doing that or whatever, Ray Ray takes the gun, and J Rock goes over to Bobby, and so they embrace. And so with them embracing or whatever, because he got through to Ray Ray as well. He was just like, give me my son. Let's give my son something that you and I did not have.
Yeah, because
And so
he's like, he's because Ray Ray's telling him, I'm so rich now, da da da. We built up so much. Half of this is yours. Like, just come join me back in the gang life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't want any of that. I just want my son.
Right. Right. So with them embracing or whatever, they were about to leave. And so he was just like, he's he's standing in front of Mr. Manchester. And Mr. Manchester looking so pitiful or whatever. And so he looks at him and then he looks back at Ray Ray and he was just like, you gonna let him go too? And so he was just like, he gestures at Mr. Manchester to leave. So he runs up out of there.
See, Mr. See, the Manchester just been standing there the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the whole time, not saying anything really, other than please don't shoot me.
Right, just please don't
Like,
shoot. I was
but like,
protecting my family.
right. He was. Oh well. He was like, I didn't mean to hurt him. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was like, you raised a double barrel shotgun and shot somebody in the back. You were absolutely trying to hurt them. What are
Right,
you
you.
talking
Yeah,
about?
that was deliberate. What do you mean?
That was not a mistake. It was not an accident.
Only thing is, you didn't know it was a 10-year-old boy, but
Right.
you know it was a child. At the end of the day, you may have thought he was 15.
That was clearly not a full grown man.
At all.
Right.
At all.
And they were also running away from you. So they were not a danger to you.
Not a threat. So yeah, but you say anything to not get shot. So I get it. So
yeah, but he Ray gives him that signal with his head like gone, you know?
right, just get out of here. So
He
yeah,
runs out.
burns out of that mug. So yeah, so he leaves, and so OG Bobby Johnson leaves with his son J Rock, and that's
leaves the gang life behind.
Yeah. So yeah, that is South Central. So what are your
why did you pick this film? Like, what is your relationship to this film?
When I was a kid watching it, it was such a cool movie. Had a lot of message is in it. And so like that, this was just like the talk of elementary school,
Okay.
Yeah, like everybody liked it. We always talked about this movie. So I didn't see it at the theaters. I ended up seeing it on one of them cable channels.
Yeah, like HBO, Showtime, something like that.
Yeah, or Cinemax, one of the big three. So, or the only three back then.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was a it was a movie that drew our attention, because like in Kansas City, we had gangs, but they weren't like LA gangs. They were, I mean, they were sets, and they had colors. It was colors were affiliated with them, but it wasn't like how LA is, So and then we were in the hood. A lot of us, if we knew our father at all, they weren't around like they were supposed to have been. So it was relatable on the outskirts. So it just was a movie that everybody just enjoyed back then. So
what did you think of it seeing it now?
It was a couple of things that were silly back then that are still silly, but you see it in a different light. Especially knowing that how many white people were behind it. It's just like, wow.
I'm not surprised.
It really looked like. This is how y'all thought of us, So
because there are just some things in the movie that rang like real, just inauthentic and false to me. But there was also the issue of all the actors appear to be very much actors. You know what I mean? Like, that's a man. And then also There were some other scenes where they're reading. It's Ray Ray even like he doesn't seem like a very intimidating cake gangster kind of dude at all. You know.
Yeah, he wasn't. Um, because we didn't see him put in work. Like he obviously did because he got his black heart, but we never saw him really put in any work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
There's
saying?
always somebody else doing something.
Right. Right. So maybe, and then this is gonna sound terrible.
Uh-oh.
I'm putting this out there now. This is gonna sound terrible. Don't cancel me on this. But I never took I never took a light skinned gangster seriously.
Well, I'm not surprised you would say that. I mean, we do have stereotypes in culture about how people behave based on their skin tone.
Right, right, right.
So,
Right. But
but they're not even trying with him.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. And like he's probably the most serious light skinned gangster that I've ever took. Because there have been other movies where I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna take you
I mean,
serious.
his presence. I don't know, man. His presence is not commanding. Like,
It's not. It's not. It's he's more on the flashy side
yeah,
of things. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
he rolls around in the hood with a new Benz. He has
mm-hmm.
on the snazzy clothes. He has the money. He has the houses. He's the one that's delegating work.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not really we don't really see him put in work. Even when it came down to killing Jeannie Lamb, we don't really see him
Yeah.
doing it. We see him delegating, you know. So, and usually when you get to that position is because you put in work, you know. So I get that the movie wasn't mainly about him,
Mm-hmm.
but that may have been part of the disconnect with him, why he wasn't that believable, because we did not see him put in work.
Right.
So, but um, what did you think about the movie?
Uh, like again, he could. To me, it was very clearly written by white people and directed by white people. Like, just things didn't. There are things that just didn't fold all the way over, didn't curl all the way over for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, there is the characters are like very flat. They don't have a lot of nuance at all. They feel like stereotypes, and I'm not sure if I feel that way because of all the movies and roles that came afterward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if those were stereotypes even at the time. You know, I'm not sure which is which so, for me. Um, but yeah, it was just like I don't know. I don't know what the movie was really trying to say too much. What it was trying to say, it did not say well. Um,
The movie was trying to pretty much emphasize the importance of fathers.
mhm. Yeah, that scene between Ali, like the scene between Ali and OG Bobby Johnson, are probably the best ones.
Yeah, yeah, just showing his rehabilitation. And then the crazy part about that is like yes, Ray Ray and Bobby, they did not have their fathers,
Hmm.
but they didn't have their fathers because they were fighting the power. You know what I'm saying? They were in the 65 riots, the Watts riots.
And that's not really told at all. Like you know what I mean?
But
It's very,
getting
it
over,
gives very
you know?
much like you're here because of your personal choices and nothing else.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like,
Like it was skated over. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And I didn't really catch that until I watched it yesterday.
Hmm.
And I've been watching this movie since I was a kid. So, but yeah, um, they weren't. I mean, they weren't there for a reason. They would have been there had it not been for that.
Right.
You know, so which we can go down a rabbit hole on that, but yeah, there's not enough
I
time
mean,
for.
like the thing about it is like it's based on this book that talks about the history of gangs, right?
Mm,
Particularly the Crips in LA, right? So there's a lot there. Like a lot of the gangs were formed as protection, right? That's how a lot of them started out, but we don't get any of that, you know.
right, right, and gangs is an acronym for something positive, or not gang, Crips.
Oh,
Crips is
okay.
an acronym for something positive in the community. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because it was kind of like how not Black Panther, Panthers was
The
something.
Black Panthers, yeah.
Yeah, the Black Panthers. Nowadays when you say Black Panther, you think automatically Marvel. So, yeah, but yeah, you think of or like I was saying, like that was something positive in the community as well. You know what I'm saying? That they tried to demonize.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, we didn't. It was very much giving like it's just all personal accountability, and there's nothing else outside of that,
right,
and that's just not the case.
right,
And for them to not mention that at all was just very like, what are you doing?
right, right. Even with the '80s, with the crack epidemic and all that kind of stuff, we we didn't come up with the recipe, and we didn't
Mm-mm.
we didn't supply the drugs.
No, that was all
Yeah,
Nixon. It was very purposely done to discredit the folks who were a part of social justice movements at the time. And he said specifically black people, he wanted to discredit them. So like, cause like who was buying all this stuff to even make the drugs that weren't even occurring in the States at the time? Like it doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
right. It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, like I said, you can go down a whole rabbit hole on
Mhm.
this whole situation, but yeah, we don't have enough time today to do that.
So, so what would you give it in the real ratings?
Let's see. Let's go to the real ratings. We have. We have one movie real trash AF, two it exists, three entertaining, four great, five a true classic.
Mhm.
Um, I would give it a 3.75.
Okay.
Um, because I'm leaning towards great, but I understand the reason why I'm leaning towards great is for
Mhm.
nostalgic reasons. So, what say you?
I would give it a 2. It exists.
Oh wow, it was not in the building for this movie. Huh?
No, it was not well put together. It has nothing to do with like the actors really, but like the direction was not great. I'm sorry, the story was
Yeah,
also not good, and same guy. So
yeah,
I just
yeah.
and the fact that I wasn't even like looking to see like who made the movie, but the fact that it just jumped off the screen for me like this was made by white people
Yeah,
is just very I don't like it.
yeah. I don't think that this movie could be made in 2022.
You would have to make a completely different movie.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
No, there's
because like
even be no reason to call it a reboot or
no,
part two or have any affiliation with it.
it would have to be a completely different remake. Like
Yeah,
like if you just decided we're gonna go more with what's in the book, maybe do that or
mm-hmm.
whatever. But like again, the characters are really flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get like hardly any nuance about what the community is going through,
Right.
why people are making any of the choices they're making, the story, So
Yeah.
I need a good story. I need good characters. You know,
Yeah.
if we don't
Yeah.
have both of
Very one
those,
dimensional.
right?
They're
And
very
because
one
I'm like,
dimensional. You don't really care outside of, Bobby and J Rock. You don't
right.
really care about nobody else.
And like the other was it Carol, who's like, it's Carol and Shelley who are like, or Shirley, who are the only black women in the movie.
Right.
Well, like any prominent black women in the movie. And Carol's just an addict. We don't really know why. Don't really know anything about her.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shirley is the good one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of how it is. It's like, you know, Carol's the villain, Shirley's a good one. It's like, okay.
Yeah. They're too extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Yeah. So,
Like,
yeah,
what was so funny?
I can. I mean, I can definitely see that now. Like this movie, there would there would be a lot of people that would be pissed off if this movie was made in 2022. I don't think nobody.
Especially the same way.
Yes, I don't think nobody would take that risk.
I would
It,
hope not.
yeah, yeah. Because like I said, I was shocked. I mean, watching it, no, you're not shocked. But when I saw the opening credits, I was like, Oliver Stone, he's behind it. So yeah,
But it feels very much something like well meaning white people would do.
yeah. And sometimes that can be painful, you know.
You mean well, but you didn't do well. And it
Right,
like and it
right,
shows.
right. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Sometimes that can be just as painful, And you don't
Yeah.
mean nothing by it. You just don't understand,
Well, the thing about it for me is you also didn't ask anybody.
that too.
Not really. You didn't put the people you could have asked because you based it off a guy's book. Why didn't you like have him have some more like input or something? Or
And
I
look,
don't know.
he should have been on. He should have had something to do with the movie. But I don't know. Like I mean, it's so especially in the early '90s. It would have been so many people that you could have gotten outside of like reusing people from Boys in the Hood. There could have
Well,
been so
hey,
many.
they were trying to make their like there were very few roles.
Yeah,
So I
they
understand.
the hell out of some of them people. But yeah, you could. I mean, there could have been so many people that you could have gotten on to a different path. Like this could have worked out for the community.
Hmm.
Had you
Hmm.
used them in a positive way about something that they know about. You know, but yeah, it didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
So yeah. Yeah, so that is 1992's South Central.
Yes.
So what are we watching next?
Well, next we're having Christmas, so and
Yeah,
then we're having New Year's.
right. So this is our last show until
For the
2023.
year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we come back, or do you want to think about it since it's gonna be a while?
I think I want to think about it.
Okay. So
Yeah. Gotta
we're
come up
gonna
with some good lists. Yeah.
yeah. So we're gonna ponder over the Christmas break. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
Should be fun. Um. So yeah. So where can we find you?
You can find me online pretty much anywhere with the same name, Valar More Dollars. That's VALARMOR dollars. Where can I find you, Lindsay?
Everywhere at L_Ranelle. That's L_RANELLE. And also follow the podcast Twitter page, because we do live tweets whenever one of us, it's our first time watching the movie. We do live tweets. That's Roomies underscore movies.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, and if y'all needed like a good Christmas movie, I would recommend Jingle Jangle. Came out in 2020, but it's on Netflix. It's so cute. I love it so much. You definitely
Yeah.
check it out.
Okay. Right. I also saw that you saw Scrooge. How was that?
Yes, I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah. You gotta
But
see it.
not because of the any fault of the movie, but
Okay.
it's entertaining. It's very entertaining for sure. I really like seeing what they did with the special and practical effects because it came out in 1987,
Okay.
and a lot of those still look really good.
Oh, so it aged well.
It's aged pretty well with that. What was it? There's one character. She plays like the grandmother in the Addams Family movies, and she's actually in Scrooged, and she makes like an Addams Family joke, which was like a few years before she would ever be in the movie, and I thought that was funny.
Oh wow,
Um,
that is funny.
yeah, there's just some. It's some of it's like kind of wacky, because it's a comedy. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But I like it. And there's a young Afro Woodard in it as well, which is always kind
Okay.
of cool to see.
Yeah.
Um, but the main like there's a lot of product placement, and one of the ones that stuck out to me is the main character is drinking a Tab and vodka. So do you know what Tab is?
Oh,
Tab was this Coca-Cola drink that was like sweet tea, but it was supposed to be like for dieters, so you can keep tab on like the things you're drinking, right? So it's less sweet than like a soda, but it's like
that
sweet
sounds
tea.
terrible.
Yeah, so he was drinking a tab with vodka, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? That sounds gross."
Yeah, that sounds good and terrible.
Well, no, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm wrong. It wasn't. I always thought it was tea, but it's just a diet cola.
Oh,
But I
okay.
guess it must have tasted like tea to me,
Oh, okay.
because it didn't taste like cola.
Right, right, right. Oh, that sounds gross.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But if you want, you can buy like unopened cans of Tab on eBay. So
Ugh. When they stop making it,
when
because I'm
did
sure them
I'm not
cans
sure
are, I'm
when they
sure them cans are
stopped making it.
expired
Let
by
me
now.
see. Um, it was discontinued in 2020, actually. So
2020.
December 31st of 2020, it was finally discontinued. But I
Mm,
had not really seen it in a forever. Maybe they had a comeback or something.
uh,
Yeah, because it had like saccharin, instead of sugar, so it was like sugar free.
You know what drink I really liked, which this is completely off subject, but who cares? The drink I really liked was the blue Pepsi.
Really? Okay.
I freaking love that stuff. That stuff was so freaking good. I that
The blue Pepsi. I don't know if I had that.
yeah, it was so freaking good.
I
Um,
have the Nitro Pepsi now. Um,
how you like that?
I like it.
Uh,
Although I could see how other people might not, because the thing with the nitro is it makes a much smoother carbonation kind of thing. So
okay.
you could taste it and be like, "This is flat," but it's not. Like,
Yeah,
but I like it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. See, I liked their Crystal Pepsi back in the day, and but
Oh,
that
I
blue,
did love that Crystal Pepsi. I used
yeah,
to take the Crystal Pepsi and mix it with Gatorade. It was so good.
Gatorade, that's different.
Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I used to buy that. I used to buy that blue Pepsi by the liters. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, that was good. That was some good
I
stuff.
don't even remember the blue Pepsi.
Yeah, I want to say it came out before I went to Georgia State.
Oh,
Like it
you're probably
was
right.
out and done. Yeah, but I remember I was technically an adult, but it was before I went to Georgia State.
You were technically adult, so that was probably like one of the things you were doing all the time. I was like, I can buy all the blue Pepsi I want.
Right, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna drink it. Yeah, so yeah, because I went to Georgia State
Pepsi
at
Blue, yeah.
20. Yeah, yeah,
2002 to 2004, it says.
yeah. See, before I came down here. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So and we graduated '01. So yeah, I was technically an adult and it was before Georgia State. But them 2 years, it was lovely. So yeah. But yeah. So guys, that is episode 21 of Roomies Review the Movie. So we will see you guys in the new year for episode
Yes.
22.
Everyone have a happy holiday season. Bye.
Bye.